welcome to Deep Sports Talk. I'm Hanson alongside Shane Caldwell, and this is our Week 9 quarterback show. Shane, big week here, main slate, 5 games for the totals, and we got to pick out some quarterbacks.
Yeah, absolutely. We're there's some really good, some pretty high over unders with some marquee quarterbacks here. So we're loving some of these quarterback picks this week. So yeah, I think we're definitely ready to go here for week 9. It's hard to believe we're pretty much at the halfway point here.
Yeah, it really is. It really is. But it's been an exciting first half of the season, and we're ready to crush the second half. So, if you're new to the program, we do 3 different position videos on the weekend. So this is our quarterback show. We'll do a wide receiver and tight end show, and then a running backs show. So if you're on YouTube, please hit that subscribe button so you're notified when those podcasts post. And we appreciate your support there. We also want to thank our presenting sponsor, BetUS.com.pa. Make sure to use that promo code CoachTalk when you make your first deposit. You get a 125% match just for being a listener to our podcasts. All right, Shane, who are you looking at here for an expensive option in week 9?
Yeah, I mean, I think we can go right back to Russell Wilson here. He's been, again, he's pretty much the MVP front runner this year. And I just love the game environment. This is the highest over-under at 55. Seattle's going into Buffalo, and Buffalo's not great against the pass. Good matchup. They have a weak pass rush, so Russell Wilson's going to have a lot of time. Even if they get the pass rush on him, because they are a decent defense, he can run around and he has great weapons, so he has good matchups and great people to stack with. So like Russell Wilson, he's $9,000 on FanDuel, so he is expensive, but I think he can get there. 7,600 on Draftkings, and just the fact that it's a fairly competitive game, they're favorites with a high implied team total of 29 points. And I think that with all their star running backs out and them having a rookie running back, they're going to rely on the passing game again. So that means, again, let Russ cook, and he's going to be in a competitive matchup because I think Buffalo can score on them. It's not like they're going to be able to just go in there and blow them out at Buffalo. So it's shaping up to be one of those great shootout games because the other side can score as well. So it's a great game environment and a great situation for Russell Wilson here. So I think you can get up to that expensive price point this week with him.
Yeah, he's really reliable for those shootouts, isn't he? And just getting it done week in and week out. What a stud. So I definitely support that play. He is my favorite high-end option. One guy you could look at as a pivot at that top tier is Kyler Murray. I know there's a lot of buzz around him this week, again, because of his rushing ability. He hasn't been amazing as a passer, but pretty good matchup here against Miami. Home favorites by 4.5. Over under right now is 49.5 on BetUS. And, he can beat you through the air or on the ground. Miami is vulnerable both ways. So there's a guy you could get as a pivot off of Russell Wilson.
Yeah, and I think I'm going to go right back to that same game there with the 55 over under. Again, it's all about game environment, and if it stays close. Another thing we brought up is the weather looks great in Buffalo this week.
Yes,
where last week it was horrible, right? So we're going to go back to Josh Allen. Josh Allen is a guy that looks like he's really due for a big game here. He's had some tough matchups, some disappointing games. He hasn't looked great, but I think coming back home, going against Seattle's defense, they're one of the worst defenses against quarterbacks, against wide receivers, against passing in general. Now, Seattle's defense does get back their star Pro Bowl safety and Jamal Adams, but he's coming back from an injury. I know he likes to blitz the quarterback, that type of thing, but Josh Allen's mobile. He can run as well. So Josh Allen's still going to have a lot of mismatches. He's got all his wide receivers healthy, looking like a great spot for Josh Allen that I think he can get it done through the air and with his legs on the ground. And he's only 8,200 on FanDuel, 7,600 on DK. So he's a little bit cheaper just because he's been disappointing lately, but he's due for a big ceiling game, and he's going to have to pass the ball here. Seattle's really tough to run the ball against. They're more of a pass funnel team. So this is setting up for high volume in the passing game and rushing yards for Josh Allen in a high scoring shootout type environment. He's going to have to sling it around to keep up with Seattle's offense. So I think he'll be looking to prove that he can compete with Russell Wilson here. So I could see him having a big bounce back game at probably lower ownership because of the fact that he's been pretty bad lately. But I like playing these guys when they're ready to have their bounce back game. So that's why I like Josh Allen this week.
Yeah, great opportunity for him. And he has been a little bit down since the beginning of the season when he had some ceiling games. So he needs it. And what a great spot against that defense. All right, for me, I want to look at Deshaun Watson here in this same price range. 7-point favorites at Jacksonville. 50.5 is the total on BetUS. And we saw what he did recently against Jacksonville, 359 and 3. Just, talk about reliable. He and Russell Wilson, so consistent. Just that, here we are. All four guys we've talked about so far can beat you through the air or on the ground. And that really helps the floor and the ceiling each week. So you could go back to Watson here.
Yeah, I think people thought he was going to be bad when DeAndre Hopkins left, but he's doing just fine, and I love his weapon. So gotta love Deshaun Watson's having an excellent year. Speaking of a guy that's having an excellent year, this guy came out of nowhere. What was he, like the third or fourth quarterback taken in the draft? Here is Justin Herbert for the LA Chargers. Now the team hasn't done good for winning, but they certainly make it exciting every single week. So Justin Herbert, you really got to like this game at home in LA against the Las Vegas Raiders. Raiders have a very young, inexperienced secondary. And this is just mismatch city when you're talking about, their secondary trying to cover these wide receivers for the LA Chargers. And Justin Herbert's not afraid to take deep shots and just pick these guys apart. So this is looking like, over under 51.5. I like that it's, depending on what book you look at, it's pretty much a pick 'em game. So that means it's back and forth, high scoring action, competitive game here. Both teams can really get up and down. So I just love the game environment. And Justin Herbert's had huge games against way tougher matchups, and he's still pretty reasonably priced. 7,900 on FanDuel, 68 on DK. So take advantage of that discounted price you're getting on him because his price is going to continue to go up if the trends continue. And this guy just gets it done. He's just a straight baller. I don't care if the team only wins 1 or 2 games. As long as he gets fantasy points, I'm good with it. And I like this game environment. So fire up Justin Herbert again this week.
There you go. Yeah, it's almost better sometimes if you're trailing a little bit and chasing. So he'll keep chucking it. So certainly worth considering. We've been talking here for a few minutes about quarterbacks. We haven't gone with a real GPP option. So I think I need to get one into the mix. And how about Nick Foles for that category? 5,500. If you're only playing one lineup, I do not advise that you use Nick Foles. But it's a good price for a guy in a great matchup. Tennessee, number 26 against the pass. And this is one of those situations where, at least on paper, in Vegas, Chicago will be playing from behind. Tennessee, the 6.5-point home favorites, over under 47. That's gone up a tick. And, to be honest, I'm not sure Chicago is going to be playing from behind. I think there's a really good chance they can win this game. And if they do, I think Foles will have success through the air. So there's a guy you could go to who's looked a lot better against New Orleans than he did the week before. So there's a GPP option for you.
Yeah, so you're looking for, I always have to say it with Nick Foles, you're looking for, what was it, 2017 Super Bowl Nick Foles? That's the guy.
Super Bowl Nick, here he comes.
If he shows up, you're looking good in those GPPs at really low ownership. So that guy, he's an aggressive thrower, and he is really talented, and Tennessee can be exploited. So I like it.
Yep.
Super Bowl Nick, here we come. Now the next guy, how about I throw up kind of a mystery guy here?
Okay.
Let's give you guys some. Let's give everyone some stats here and see if you can guess who this is. Now, I think this player has a chance to be around 1% owned this week. So when we talk about GPP plays, I could be wrong, but I'm thinking around 1% owned. Okay.
You've got my attention.
The last 2 games on DraftKings, he has averaged 24.4 DraftKings points. In his last game he played, his matchup, his opponent was the number 1 defense against quarterbacks in terms of fantasy points against. So they were the toughest matchup in terms of quarterback scoring fantasy points. And he happened to score 27.4 DraftKings points in that matchup. That was the last time he played out. Then the opponent that this guy will be playing this week, last time he played this team, he threw for 364 yards and 4 touchdowns. Okay, this quarterback is 8th in pricing on DraftKings and 10th in pricing on FanDuel, so he's more of a value play, but not the lowest price guy. Okay, the opponent he's playing this week gives up the 5th most fantasy points to quarterbacks this year on average, so it's a great matchup. And this person sounds like a pretty good play if you consider those things.
Is it Joe Montana?
No, it sounds like it, doesn't it? I know. It made this guy sound really great. And if this person is actually 1%, you talk about a GPP special. And I'm talking about my guy, Matthew Stafford.
All right.
So my projection for Stafford is that he is in, he's in the Four Seasons Detroit. He's in the Renaissance Center in the suite right now because he's isolated from his family. He was on the COVID list. And he doesn't have COVID. His family's tested negative for COVID several times. So he just has to pass the next couple tests to make it to the next step. And then he has to be separate from the team. But you know what? How long does it take Stafford to jump on a private plane from Detroit to Minneapolis? That takes about, a half an hour flight there, right? If you got a night, and I think the Detroit Lions can afford to have him jump on a private plane, right? So we're looking at Stafford flying into Minneapolis by himself on either Saturday night or Sunday morning, getting the final approval test, and the Lions activate him on Sunday morning, which gives you 1% ownership, and it's time to fire up Stafford in a high-scoring game. By the way, before a lot of the books take it down, we were looking at over-unders around 52.5 with the Minnesota favorite. So now Stafford has to pass because he's on the road against a division opponent. The Lions need to win this game. So everyone's thinking Stafford's out. If they're not thinking Stafford's out, they're certainly not putting him in their DraftKings and FanDuel lineups. They're not thinking about playing him. So that's why I think, because it's going to be such late news and such a surprise to people are thinking about him. And by the way, he has great people you can stack with, and it's a great game stack on both sides as well. So there's your mystery player, Matthew Stafford, at potential 1% ownership. We'll look and see. I'll be able to tell you on Sunday about 1 o'clock what his ownership is.
Beautiful. Love it. So that reminds me, I should inform people who don't know yet. Shane is the Detroit sports man. So if you want to follow him on Twitter, go to DET Sports Shane. You can find me on Twitter at Language Olympic. You can find our group at DFS Coach Talk, and our fearless leader, the coach, is at JOESARVADI. All right, Shane, let's go one more each here. One more value play. I'm going to go with Drew Lock, who I like a lot. He's growing on me here this week at only 5,200 on DraftKings. And you talk about a great matchup. Atlanta, number 31 against the pass. And this is another situation where we've got a total of 50, and Atlanta is favored. So if that plays out, then Denver's going to have to pass it. We saw that really close game, high scoring last week with the Chargers. So I'm just starting to attack this Atlanta pass defense whenever I can. So Drew Lock will be in a bunch of my lineups.
Awesome. The guy I'm looking at, who people were initially looking at this guy last week, and then some crazy weather came up. So they kind of got off him a little bit. I'm sure some people still played him, but I'm talking about Derek Carr, and Derek Carr is going up against the LA Chargers, and that's that pick'em game with the over-under of 51.5. It's looking like a great game environment here. And the Chargers, they're looking at losing their top pass rusher. Bosa is doubtful. I don't think he's going to play, so that hurts their pass rush. Their secondary is decent, but quarterbacks have done well against them this year still. So it's not like they're a shutdown defense. And Derek Carr, if you look at like week 5, for example, when he goes into Kansas City and puts up 347 yards and 3 touchdowns for 28 DraftKings points, I could see Derek Carr having one of those type of games. Because this is a shootout type, gunslinger type game, they're not going to be able to just hand the ball off to Josh Jacobs, who has been sick this week, by the way. So I like Derek Carr to have a big game, and I think they have some great matchups. You can certainly pair him with his tight end and some of his speedy wide receivers that he has, playmakers. So I love the game environment. I like the matchup. I'm not scared of the LA Chargers for Derek Carr, and I think if they got to win, if they're going to keep up with the Chargers with her, against Herbert, they're going to have to pass a lot, and I expect good volume and good production here. And Derek Carr's looked great, and he really disappointed last week. But keep in mind, Derek Carr's really not great in that cold weather games in Cleveland with the wind gusts were like ridiculously 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts. So I just think it wasn't a good game environment for him. And they just gave the ball to Josh Jacobs like 31 times. This week will be a lot different, and it's going to be a good old fashioned shootout. And that's why I like Derek Carr. And by the way, he's super cheap. $7,000 on FanDuel and $5,700 on DraftKings. So I think as a value play, he's probably one of my favorites this week.
Absolutely. It's a perfect example of why each week is different, and you have to analyze each game, each slate on its own. And that's what we do all week. And we're going to keep grinding here as we finalize our lineups. If you'd like to have those lineups, we invite you to join us as a member. Go to dfscoachtalk.com. Pick up the membership there, weekly, monthly, or the winter special. It takes you through the end of the season, through the Super Bowl, and you get access to all of our lineups, every slate, every week, every sport that we do. We also cover the NBA, Major League Baseball, and PGA. And the lineups in football on FanDuel, what we give out for the main slate, we give out a full cash lineup, 2 full GPP lineups. So you can just plug and play those on FanDuel. On DraftKings, we give out our coach's clipboard with core plays and pivots. We also give out a full Yahoo lineup, and that's been crushing it. So join us as a member. We'd love to have you. dfscoachtalk.com. Again, subscribe on YouTube, please, so you're notified of the other podcasts, and check those out so you can figure out who to pair your quarterbacks with. And I think that's everything. Shane, did I miss anything?
No, I think that's great.
Excellent. All right. Well, check out the running back podcast if you haven't yet. And then also check out the wide receiver tight end podcast. And we appreciate your support and joining us here. And we look forward to joining you on the next episode as we look to crush it in DFS.
Wake up, sports bettors. Sports are in high gear at BetUS.com, so put down the beer and make every sporting event more exciting by putting stakes on the line at BetUS. Earn bragging rights over your friends as you rake in the cash from each week's betting action. But don't settle for any other book. Choose America's favorite sports book with over 25 trusted years in the industry, BetUS. You need a sports book with integrity and longevity, but more importantly, you need a sports book that pays. BetUS has your game with action on football, baseball, basketball, MMA, golf, horse racing, and even esports. No other sportsbook welcomes newcomers like BetUS with their jaw-dropping sign-up bonuses. Sign up now with promo code CoachTalk for 125% sign-up bonus up to $2,000. The best in the biz. Now you have the best book in the business with the best DFS provider in the business, Coach Talk. Create your account to make point spread bets, futures bets, prop bets, entertainment bets, live bets, and more. No other sportsbook is as committed to their members as BetUS. Sign up now and get in on the winning side of the ball.